Hey guys, Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today we're going to be doing a quick video on endometriosis and birth control pills. Can birth control pills hurt or maybe exacerbate your endometriosis? We'll dive in. I did a longer video on this topic. We'll put the long video down below or up in the corner here. But in general, the root cause of endometriosis. First off, endometriosis is essential endometrial tissue growth, right? That's stroma, the cells, the blood vessels. It should be in that uterine lining. And now it's growing outside of the uterus, either on the ovaries, on the uterus itself, bladder, even the colon as well. And so it's tissue growing in the wrong place. Now, what does this cause? So right before you bleed or during bleeding, you can have lots of pain. You can have pain on intercourse, pain during your menstruation, pain during urination, even pain during defecation using your bowels. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be timed up with your period before and or during. So if you have chronic digestive issues and there's pain, that may be a different issue. This pain is going to be associated with that premenstrual, menstrual time frame. But we got to get to the root underlying issue. So in my longer video, I go more into depth, but essentially we have excess estrogen. We have they call it estrogen dominance. And we start to have aberrant flows of estrogen throughout the cycle. So the conventional treatment for endometriosis is typically using a birth control pill. So an ethinyl estradiol. What this does is it actually takes the FSH and the LH, which is the feedback hormones from our brain. It's the HPG axis, the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. So we have FSH and LH, talks to our ovaries and our follicles, and it causes hormone production. And so that takes the estrogen, the FSH and the LH, knocks it down, which then lowers the estrogen. But they add in synthetic estrogen, so you actually get more, but it stabilizes it, and it also prevents the ovulation. So when you have stable estrogen flows, even if it makes maybe a little higher, it helps with the symptoms. And by not ovulating, because you're not getting pregnant essentially, that decreases a lot of the prostaglandins that would happen or be produced when you're ovulating. And so what drives endometrial tissue growth is this excess prostaglandins, typically prostaglandin 2, and then you're also going to get this estrogen dominant state. And if we're chronically stressed, progesterone will get converted downstream to cortisol to make the stress hormones. And so part of the other problem is not just high estrogen, it's also low progesterone. It's this estrogen dominant situation. So if we normally have 20 plus times more progesterone than estrogen, let's say estrogen stays the same, but progesterone drops. That's estrogen dominance. Now, it could be progesterone stays the same, but estrogen goes up. Also, estrogen dominance. It could be both of them dropping, but progesterone a little bit more. That's estrogen dominant. So it's not always super high levels of estrogen. It's more of that ratio. Now, if we have toxins coming in from the environment, pesticides, right? A lot of these are organochlorine-based. Guess what? Those are estrogen derivatives. Let's say excess phytoestrogens in soy. That could be another estrogen ball in our estrogen bucket. What about plastics that are estrogen mimickers, right? Bisphenol A or bisphenol S, these are estrogen compounds, or phthalates, which are going to be in the plastics that makes it softer, or it could be in makeup products too. So all of these things are going to add into our estrogen bucket, and then we have more estrogens accumulating, and we're swimming in a sea of it. And so that can really impact and drive more of this endometrial tissue growth. And now if our detoxification's bad, now that makes it really hard for us to be able to excrete the estrogens. If we have dysbiosis, that's more bad bacteria in the gut than good. This upregulates certain enzymes in the intestine called beta-glucuronidase, which makes it harder for us to detoxify estrogen. There's actually a study I showed in the longer video that looks at a correlation between low levels of lactobacillus in the gut and the uterine tract, or in the vaginal canal, and increased risk for endometriosis. So in other words, low lactobacillus, low probiotics, increase endometrial tissue growth. And so we know the gut plays a very important role. We know environmental estrogens do. We know estrogen progesterone ratio. So anything that can drive stress or inflammation, and throw that off. And again, just throwing a birth control pill, yeah, can it do certain things to level out the hormones? Can it prevent ovulation, which can decrease some of the prostaglandins? Sure, but it's not fixing the underlying cause. And most of the time, you're just adding more synthetic estrogen into the equation, and we're not adding in good, healthy, bioidentical progesterone, and we're not using herbs to help work on the upstream communication from the hypothalamus to the pituitary and back to the gonads. So we want to have that good feedback loop, and usually it's stress and inflammation that disrupts that feedback loop in the beginning. So you want to get to the root of it. So put a link down below to watch the longer video. I just wanted to give you guys an abridged video on it, so you kind of just something to kind of wrap your head around it. So root cause, estrogen dominance, and estrogen coming in from all different parts of the environment. Palliative treatment, birth control pill, But there's studies, as I'll show you, is that people that are on birth control pills, they get a benefit acutely, but when they get off of it down the road, because maybe they want to get pregnant, have a family, they're actually now increased risk for endometriosis because you didn't actually fix the underlying issue and potentially just dump more estrogen in. That would be the reason why I think the risk goes up over time later, is because you're still adding more fuel to the fire. So the underlying mechanism is still in place, right? You don't have endometriosis because you have a birth control pill deficiency. You have massive hormonal imbalances, and the reason why they're out of balance is still not fixed on the birth control pill, long term at least. Short term maybe, long term not. So I hope that gives you some insight. And if you want to dive in deeper, I do testing on women that have these kind of issues all the time. We look at estrogen detox, hormones, guts. We look at detoxification. We look at all the environmental implications of where things are coming in. So we're making diet and lifestyle changes and making sure we really get to the root. So if you want to dive in deeper, there'll be a link down below where you can reach out to my staff and team. Happy to work with you and dive in on it and get a functional medicine plan going. Again, this is Dr. J here signing out. Have an awesome day. Take care. Bye.